As the foreclosure moratorium and forbearance programs come to an end here soon, should we be worried about a foreclosure wave or a foreclosure trickle? We're going to run through that right now, and stick around to the end where we'll actually run the numbers to show you the soonest we can expect foreclosures to hit, whether in forbearance or not. Hey there, Christian Walsh, Wire Associates. We're real estate agents based in Southern California, helping buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords navigate these crazy days in California and beyond. And we're here with a big update. We have two important programs ending very soon. That's the foreclosure moratorium and the forbearance program. The foreclosure moratorium ends on July 31st, 2021. And as of this shooting, that's just a few days away, and we don't expect that to be extended. So what does this mean? Those in forbearance do not currently have to worry about being foreclosed on or the foreclosure process starting. Who this will affect most are those properties that have been sitting abandoned. Banks will finally be able to move forward on foreclosing on those. And another important category, which is folks who are at least 120 days behind on mortgages before March 1st, 2020. So it's hard to believe, but those folks have not been foreclosed on because of these guidelines, and they missed payments way back then. So those are the two important groups that they'll start moving forward with: abandoned properties and those before COVID who were missing payments. The other important deadline is the forbearance program end date of September 30th, 2021. And this, a lot of people have a misunderstanding. This is the last day that borrowers can apply for forbearance. This doesn't mean that everybody under the program is suddenly done on September 30th, 2021. So that's an important distinction. So if somebody files for forbearance on September 30th, 2021, they will get a minimum of 6 months of forbearance. And there's lots of others in various stages of the forbearance process. So not everybody will be exiting or forced out on September 30th, 2021. So as people start to come out of forbearance, there seems to be an assumption in the marketplace that the majority of those folks may end up in foreclosure. And we just don't believe that that will be the case. In fact, foreclosure will be the very last option that these folks will have. So here's some of the options for those who are exiting forbearance. What they can do is they can move missed payments to the end of the mortgage. Those missed payments could also be compiled into a silent second mortgage with zero interest. And by silent, we mean no payments due. They would pay if they have a refi or sell down the road. There can be a loan modification, and the loan modification can reduce the interest rate or extend the time of repayment for the loan, which will help reduce the payments. It could be a combination of one or both of those to help reduce the payments. And also, the other thing that they could do is sell with equity. We've seen prices go up 30+% year over year in most areas across the United States. So folks who went into forbearance 12 to 18 months ago now have significant equity. So even if they can't make payments, they're not back on their feet and can't afford any payments or modification, they can still sell with equity in many cases. The absolute last possible outcome is the house would be foreclosed on. So as you can see, there's a lot of options before foreclosure for folks coming out. So the truth is, we expect just a small fraction will actually end up going through the entire foreclosure process. Some important numbers to give you perspective. So as of this shooting, Black Knight reports that there are about 1.8 million loans in forbearance right now. And again, they're not all going to be kicked out on September 30th. They're in various stages of forbearance. To put this in perspective, in the previous bust, as the market was tanking, we had close to 10 million mortgages that were behind. So this is a small fraction, still a lot, but a small fraction of the numbers we had in the previous bust. So as for estimates of the number of loans in forbearance that will be exiting in September and early October, Black Knight estimates about 575,000. So that is a big chunk that'll be coming out. The last option will be foreclosure. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. So if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you'll know that I love whiteboards occasionally. It has been a little while since I pulled one out, but now is the perfect time. So an important thing to run through first is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has put in place specific guidelines for servicers who are in charge of the foreclosure process for mortgages. They've given regulations, and we're going to show you how that affects the foreclosure process going forward. Now, technically, these don't go into effect until August 31st, 2021, but a lot of servicers, once the foreclosure moratorium is over, they're going to go ahead and honor those in that month between the end and the beginning of these servicer requirements. So what we're going to demonstrate is the soonest foreclosure can happen, and we'll use the state of California, where I practice real estate, have listed bank-owned homes. This is a non-judicial foreclosure state, which means it doesn't have to go in front of a judge in order to order the foreclosure. It's a very specific process, and we'll run through and we'll use the numbers to show the soonest a foreclosure can happen. So let's start with a property that's not in forbearance. According to the CFPB guidelines, this would be a property that, for example, has been abandoned and foreclosure can begin much more quickly. Or this would also be a property where the borrower was at least 120 days late before March 1st, 2020, before COVID hit. So this is somebody who's now really, really late on their mortgage. So let's run through the foreclosure process for properties like these. So they've missed a payment and they're well past their 120 days by now. So what we're gonna say is the first step in the California foreclosure process, the notice of default, will be filed the day after the moratorium ends, which would be August 1st, 2021. And then from there, the next step would be the notice of trustee sale, and that would be 90 days later. So 90 days from there would be Saturday, October 30th, 2021, but you're not gonna be able to file the notice that day. So it's gonna be pushed to Monday, 11/1/21. So now we filed the notice of trustee sale. And remember, this process, this is the quickest the process can move. It doesn't always move this quickly. In fact, it can take much, much longer, but this would be the quickest it could happen. Now from here, the notice of trustee sale, we have 21 days until the sale. So 21 days later, the soonest we could have the sale would be Monday, 22nd of 2021, the week of Thanksgiving. So that right there is the soonest date that a property not in forbearance could possibly be foreclosed on, would be late November 2021. Now we're gonna run through a property in forbearance, or in the same vein, a property that may not be in forbearance, but they missed payments after March 1st, 2020, so they don't fall under these guidelines. So now let's run through the process if it's someone who's in the forbearance program and they've come to the end and they're being kicked out of the forbearance program, so to speak. This is also a similar path I think we will see for properties where payments have been missed after March 1st, 2020, and they didn't reach out for forbearance. Those lenders are going to have to be very careful and follow the CFPB guidelines to make sure that they reach out and try to work with those borrowers as well. So this is the timeline I see, and there's an important big difference, and that is that there is a 30-day period after the forbearance ends. So whenever that may be, so we're going to use September 30th as the example here, but remember, it's people continuing to come out of forbearance. So whatever their date may be, December 1st, 2021, it's going to be 30 days after their forbearance ends before foreclosure can start. So just remember that that's some extra padding in there. It adds some extra time, and you'll see what it does where it pushes the dates. So we've got our 30-day wait and then the notice of default filed. So we used September 30th. So the notice of default is actually filed on October 30th, 2021, but that's a Saturday, so it's going to be pushed to Monday, and that Monday is the 1st of November. So that is the first step. The notice of default has been filed. The foreclosure process is on its way. And then we now will wait 90 days to get to the next stage, and 90 days after November 1st takes us to Sunday, January the 30th, 2022. So we're well into the new year, and we're on a Sunday, so it gets pushed. It's going to get pushed to the next day, which is January 31st, 2022. So that's where we are now. We're into 2022. And we're still not done with the foreclosure process. And just as I said before, this is if the foot's on the gas pedal and they're going as fast as they can. Usually it's going to take longer. So now we've got our 21 days before the sale. So the soonest that could possibly happen is 2/21/22. So these are folks that are coming out of forbearance. They can't take advantage of any of the other options we went through, including selling with equity, which is very hard to believe because they all have equity. And they've come out of forbearance, and the soonest we will start to see any of those homes hit the foreclosure sale will be the end of February in 2022. So it will then from there, because we've listed bank-owned homes, it's still going to be another 30 to 60 days where realistically it could be on the market, and that's even going to take longer. So we realistically will see a trickle of foreclosures maybe towards the end of 2021 and then in the beginning of 2022. And then from there, it may tick up a little bit, but it will be a very slow process. And that's if there's no extensions or any other things that come out that change this process. So that we hope you found to be helpful. We did another video like this ages ago, one of our first videos where we talked about the foreclosure wave. And at that time, we ran the numbers. COVID had just started. And basically, we were looking at the first wave of foreclosures back in January of 2021. And we knew that wasn't going to happen, but that we ran through this process and that's what we came up with. Now you can see here a full year later before foreclosures can start. So make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter where we keep content like this and a whole lot more coming for buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords. We have a link below so you can do that. Leave your comments below. I want to know what you think is going to happen. Are we going to see a big wave? Are we going to see a trickle? What do you think is going to happen as we get further into 2022? Do you expect a much bigger wave? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we appreciate you.